Finance Committee meeting to order at 6:45 p.m. The chair would entertain a motion for consideration of claims.
Your Honor, I move that we consider the claims in consideration of claims to be paid in the amount of $374,477.43. Manual checks in the amount of $92,717.22. Payroll liabilities for 5/29/2019 in the amount of $449,236.46 for a total of $916,431.11.
I would second that motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Do we have any discussion on the motion? Questions? Anything?
No, sir?
No.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Vote aye. Motion passes. Any other business?
No, Your Honor.
I have none, Your Honor.
Okay. We'll adjourn at 6:46 then.
I would now call the June 4th, 2019 regular meeting of the Riverton City Council to order at 7 p.m. Would Councilman Hancock lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and I will give us the invocation.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our dear, kind Heavenly Father, we're grateful for the many blessings that Thou hast bestowed upon us. We're thankful for the opportunity to meet as citizens and as a council, and we ask Thy Spirit to be with us so we might be mindful of the things that the citizens of Riverton would like to have done, and that we might dutifully take care of those duties. We're thankful for the many blessings that we enjoy, and we recognize Thy hand in all things, and we say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Would our newly sworn-in Deputy City Clerk conduct roll call, please?
Yes, Your Honor. Councilwoman Carla Borders.
Here.
Councilman Tim Hancock.
Here.
Councilman Mike Bailey.
Here.
Councilwoman Rebecca Schatza.
Here.
Councilman Kyle Larson.
Here.
Councilman Corey Rhoda.
Present.
Mayor Richard Gard.
Here. I declare that we have a quorum present. The chair would entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Kyle Larson has made the motion, and a second by Councilman Member Rebecca Schatza. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Communication from the floor. Citizens' comments. Anyone in the audience wishing to address the council regarding any of the items that already are on the agenda will be given the opportunity to speak later on. I would ask those individuals who wish to address the council at this time to approach the podium and identify yourself for the record.
Hi, I'm Kathy Klein, and there's a couple things I wanted to talk about tonight. I've left you guys flyers for each one of these. First, I'd ask you to join me in congratulating Carla Borders and Rebecca Schatza as being nominated by the Riverton Rotary Club as 2 of 19 women considered to have significant impact on economic development in Riverton. We will be recognizing them at a meeting next Tuesday at lunchtime at the casino. So we appreciate everything that all 19 of these women have contributed to Riverton. Thank you.
And you too, Kathy. She's also on that list.
Your Honor, Kathy was also nominated.
I think she made the list.
Yeah, that's why I don't bring it up. Anyway, the other thing I'd like to bring up is that we officially know now what Google Day will be in Riverton, and that will be June 26th. On that day, Google will have one of their contractors, Truly 360, will be here with a Google car, and they will be taking photographs of our area for Google Maps Street View. Street View is a tool that allows people from all over the world to visit Riverton, to walk our streets and see what we look like. If you're a person who doesn't live here, doesn't know anything about who we are, this is a great way to find out, when you're passing through on your way to Yellowstone or wherever else, do you want to stop and have a bite to eat or get some gas or spend a little time in some of our fun venues? Or is it a place you want to just rush through and get through? So we really want people to think that this would be a great place to stop and spend a couple days maybe. So with that in mind, we're having a community meeting next Wednesday here in Council Chambers at 6:30. We're asking anybody who'd like to come participate. Some of the things we would like people to do on this date that Google is filming is to have their businesses out on the street, because as that car passes through, it's going to see the signs, but we want them to be able to see what does and things mean at Jerry's Flowers, and what can you really get at Outsportin, and those kind of things. And so we'd like to get the merchants to get their wares out on the street. The filming will go from the corner of Main and Federal up to the airport, with some side trips at CWC and at the airport itself, and it will also do from the casino to City Hall. No further, because there's road construction going on, and we'll just let the old pictures that they have suffice for now for there. But some of the other things that we're looking at doing is having some activities going on the opposite side of the street. One thing that's happening, one of the first things that'll be happening, is the Shriners will have their kids parade coming down. So that filming will start about the post office with those kids. Then it's up to us as a community to decide what else do we want them to see of Riverton, Wyoming. So some of the suggestions are a bunch of ATVs, a mini cattle drive, wherever Lance is, marching bands, certainly everyone have their flags out. So just things that introduce people to what Riverton is as they're using this Street View tool. We've got 2 weeks to put it together, so it's going to be kind of a quickie, and it'll last for about an hour. But we hope that you will participate with us, and we hope you'll share the meeting with all your friends, because the more people we have at the community meeting, the better job we'll do. So thank you.
Kathy's also on our FAST board, and so she is extremely active in our community, and we really do appreciate you coming. Thanks, Kathy. Lance.
A little taller here, Kathy. Lance Godey. I'm coming to you, I guess, as a private citizen at this point. I'm leading up a charge of a few community members here that have developed a new event coming in August, and wanted to give City an opportunity to kind of hear about it first. The Rendezvous City Beef Roundup is going to be August 23rd and 24th. I've handed out information to all of you. There's ads that'll start going out. It's made it on Facebook. The tickets are now on sale. So you're going to see more and more of this as we put the publicity out and get the word out. It's really an opportunity to feature Fremont County and Wyoming beef. That's its whole purpose, is just to kind of, one of the jewels of Fremont County and of Wyoming is our beef. And this is an opportunity for people to come together and support it in any number of ways. We're hoping to have vendors who will be there to teach us about aspects of cutting it, processing it, raising it, eating it, the whole 9 yards, pretty much from beginning to end. We'll have classes, vendors that can present their information. And then at the end of the day, we're going to have a competition, a tasting competition, to be able to really champion the people who raise the best and can cook the best Wyoming beef. And there'll be a competition at the end of the day for our hopefully our inaugural beef and beer competition, and and have just a good time celebrating beef in Fremont County and across Wyoming. So. We're just now, one of the main things, it's very early. We just started selling tickets this weekend. I'd like to recognize the first purchaser of the tickets was Rebecca and Drew Schatza, and did a fantastic job of getting right on and getting their tickets purchased. So you can do that on the Eventbrite site that's listed on the flyer that will be out on all the materials. So look for that. That's the only place that we're selling tickets to attend the event up until the day of, and we're only selling 100 premium tickets, which gets you into the beef and beer competition. So if you want to be in that competition, you've got to be one of the 100, or otherwise you'll have a general admission ticket. The general admission still is going to have an opportunity of the classes, the vendors, and a variety of tastings. We're encouraging producers to bring some of their other beef products, other things that they might want to market and give out, tastings of those things. So we're working on that. That's pretty much throughout up until 2 o'clock. But the premium folks will not only get that, but they'll also be able to do the competition, attend the competition. The main thing too is we need vendors, businesses, producers, chefs, any of those folks that are interested in kind of being part of this competition, not necessarily attending, but being a part of it. We need them to contact me so that we can get them signed up and get that figured out, get the logistics of that figured out. So I definitely want to put the word out and encourage all of you to put the word out that if you think of everything from the launching event, which is the Friday night, August 23rd, that's just for restaurants. Restaurants to use Wyoming beef and create any type of meal that they want, and to market that meal. If they'll contact me, we'll include them in marketing so that they're getting their name out there as supporting Wyoming beef through their efforts in the restaurant. That's our launching event for the weekend. And then Saturday, all day Saturday, is the classes, the vendors, and the beef and beer competition. So you know of anybody in any of those categories, and I really want to we're trying to be as creative of any industry that supports the beef industry. We were thinking of things even as FFA, 4-H, but also knife makers, butchers, anybody who has an interest in that consumption through production, anything in there. We want to try to encourage them to come and be a part of this. So any questions that anybody has at this point? If you think of any, email me or call me and be happy to answer.
Oh, mine. Mine.
Okay, thank you.
Lance also serves on our Solutions Committee and also on the Board of Appeals, the Planning Commission. So we're glad to have you. Thanks, Lance.
Thank you.
Would the Deputy City Clerk please read the consent agenda items by title only?
Yes, Your Honor. Approval of the minutes, May 21st, 2019, regular council meeting. Approval of the minutes, June 4th, 2019, Finance Committee meeting. Approval of the Finance Committee recommendations for June 4th, 2019. Ordinance number 19-005, second reading, Riverton Municipal Code, Chapter 5.04, revisions, and I'll read that by title only. An ordinance amending Title V, Business Licenses and Regulations, to revise Chapter 5.04, Alcoholic Beverages, Section 5.04.220, revocation of the Riverton Municipal Code, and repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict therewith, and providing for an effective date. Ordinance number 19-007 on second reading, Riverton Municipal Code, Chapter 5.04, legislative revisions. I'll also read that by title only. An ordinance amending Title V, Business Licenses and Regulations, to revise Chapter 5.04, Alcoholic Beverages, Sections 5.04.100, permit for retail sales at picnics, bazaars, fairs, etc. 5.04.230, issuance of liquor licenses by category, and 5.04.270 issuance by classes of the Riverton Municipal Code and repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict therewith and providing for an effective date. And then there was 2 open container permit applications. The first one's for Marissa Bebout for a block party on June 6, 2019 at Down Circle from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. and from Nick Bebout for a 50th class reunion on July 20th, 2019 at Sunset Park from 2 p.m. to 8 p.m.
Thank you. Are there any other items requiring further discussion?
Your Honor,
Yes.
the recommendations from the Finance Committee was for bills to be paid in the amount of $374,477.43, manual checks in the amount of $92,717.22, payroll liabilities for May 29th, 2019 in the amount of $449,236.46 for a total of $916,431.11.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion to approve the consent agendas as presented.
So moved. Oh, I'm sorry.
Second.
Carla Borders has made the motion, and Councilman Bailey has made the second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Public hearing and consideration of fireworks permit application, Riverton Little League. Deputy City Clerk's report, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mayor and Council, in front of you tonight for your consideration is a firework permit application received from the Riverton Little League for a fireworks show on June 27th at the Ron Sabin Little League Complex. It's for their year-end celebration. The conditions of the permit application have been completed, the proper fees have been paid, the letter of recommendation from the fire chief has been received, proper notice to the public has been advertised, and included in your packet is a map where the firework display will take place. A representative from the Riverton Little League, Carla Cachera, is also in the audience tonight should you have any questions. Based on the information provided, staff is recommending approval of the firework permit application as presented. Thank you.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Rhoda and a second by Councilman Bailey. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. I now declare the public hearing open. The hearing will be conducted in accordance with state statute and other applicable laws. I would ask those individuals wishing to address the council to approach the podium and identify yourself for the record.
Doesn't look like anybody's going to do that, Your Honor. I move we close the public hearing.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Hancock and a second by Councilman Larson. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. The chair would now entertain a motion to approve the fireworks permit application for the Riverton Little League.
So moved.
Second.
Corey, was that you?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, Mayor.
You're a long ways away. Sometimes I can't pay attention that far. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion passes. We're now to 10, and I think that's where most of us are waiting to get to. The presentation for the SkyWest. Public Works Director, please.
Yes, Your Honor. With us today, I'm pleased to announce that we have 2 representatives from SkyWest Airlines. We also have a representative from YDOT Aeronautics here to talk to us about SkyWest, their business model, their service history, and how they could benefit our community as a potential provider in the future. So I won't take a lot of time because we are here to listen to them. So I'd like to introduce Greg Atkin and Dan Belmont. They do have a presentation, and I know they're very welcome to your questions, and we look forward to hearing their presentation.
Evening. Thank you for having us. My name is Greg Atkin, Managing Director of Market Development at SkyWest.
And I'm Dan Belmont, Manager of Network Planning at SkyWest.
So we'll try to take you through these some of these slides here, help you know a little bit better who we are, what we do, some of our history. And of course, welcome for any questions along the way or at the end. So a little bit about our history. So we've been in business now 47 years. We were started in 1972 in St. George, Utah. And really, the business was to connect a small community, St. George, to the national transportation system. And so that continues to be our business model to this day. Over the years, we've accumulated a number of partnerships that we'll talk a little bit more about in a few minutes. Today, we fly about 500 aircraft, and we fly about 2,500 flights a day. About 37 million passengers in 2018. We thought we'd put a map up here that would talk a little bit about how we started. The map on the left is from 1975. You can see some of the places we flew generally in Utah, Arizona, Nevada, Colorado. And then if we fast forward to 1982, I think it's probably worth noting on there, that's when we started flying to the state of Wyoming. Rock Springs in particular. So we've been flying to the state for a very long time. This is the map of what we fly today. This map is a little busy, but essentially the company's become a nationwide airline. But the core mission, as you can see, if you look really closely, if you probably had more time than we have, is that it's really connecting small communities to large cities like Denver, where you can then connect out to the transportation system. I want to talk a little bit about our commitment to excellence as far as some of the awards we've won. The most recent is Fortune awarded us with the most admired company to work for in 2019. Air Transport World, which is a trade publication within the aviation sector, has named us a Regional Airline of the Year 3 times. And then Bombardier, who is the manufacturer of our aircraft, gave us our top reliability award on our aircraft that we would propose to fly here 6 different times. And then lastly, the Federal Aviation Administration, which regulates air safety, has given us their AMT Employer Gold Award for Excellence, and that's a maintenance award is what that is. So a little bit about our partnerships. We operate for 4 major partners. We are the only regional carrier in the United States that does operate for that many different partners. And so what that means is our business relationship with them is such that though we are SkyWest, we market our services really as one of these brands here. In Riverton, we would propose marketing it as United Express or United Airlines. United operates a very large hub in Denver, and it makes the most sense to use that brand in this community. So they trust us to paint our aircraft in their livery. The passengers enjoy a seamless experience, so it's a single ticket booking. The bags are checked through, some of those types of features. And we do operate with a high degree of reliability, and part of that is just required for us to have their brand on our aircraft. We do now operate, because of these 4 partnerships, more flights than any other regional in the world. Talking a little bit more specifically about the aircraft we proposed for Riverton is a 50-seat jet. It's manufactured by Bombardier of Canada. It's called a CRJ 200. SkyWest operates about 200 of these aircraft. In total, there's about 700 50-seat aircraft in the United States. The aircraft have quite a bit of life left in them. We've invested in a program to extend their life well into the 2030s. A lot of other regional carriers in this country are shrinking this size of aircraft in their fleet, but we've continued to invest in it because we think it's a very good aircraft for serving small communities. We put a few pictures on here. On the left is a picture of the interior. On the bottom is a map, but it's basically 2 seats on either side, a bathroom in the rear, and then a galley with a flight attendant in the front. As part of having the United brand in the community, some of the things that this would mean is that from a marketing standpoint, as I mentioned earlier, it would really be the United brand is what we would push. And there's some pretty substantial benefits of that because it's such a well-known brand. People, for example, that don't live in Riverton they'll book a flight pretty easily on a United coded product that goes in here because they've heard of it. So someone in New York or someone in California, they're going to do that. The schedules are going to be loaded 300 days in advance. So what that means is if somebody is wanting to plan, this often comes up on an international trip where you plan far in advance, those flights are going to be available for purchase in the reservation system. A few other things is we can use all of the United technology features. So, the United.com, me and Dan would kind of emphasize the mobile app United has. If for folks that travel a lot, they have, I think, one of the best travel industry apps. And then the flights in and out of Riverton could both earn and redeem frequent flyer miles. And then the last part that I think is key is that we would follow United's baggage standards, which means from Riverton all the way to your end destination, the United is essentially in control of the bags the entire time. So there's not a carrier switch, so to speak. I mean, you'd fly into the United terminal in Denver, the bags would transfer seamlessly and go on to their final destination. Dan, do you want to talk a little bit about Denver?
We'll give Greg a break here. So in this portion, we wanted to emphasize kind of the size of the operation of United Airlines at Denver. Over 500 daily flights are operated by United and United Express carriers. And we really want the community and leaders to understand that they're connecting into, this large United hub, one of the biggest in the country, and just the convenience that offers and the connections that offers. So, like Greg mentioned, there's international service and there's convenient locations, around the world that you can fly nonstop. So you're one hop from Riverton to destinations like Tokyo, London, and Frankfurt. Lots of sun destinations nearby in Mexico and the Caribbean. And for those that need more cold, you can get into Canada as well. Several locations there. So if you get bored of your cold here, you can go somewhere else. Also want to focus in on the domestic service within the United States. So those people that need to maybe conduct business on either side of the country, there's multiple flights a day to those locations. So you'll be able to easily connect and conduct business or leisure, whatever it is you need to do. And on the flip side, something we want to emphasize, and Greg has mentioned, those people can connect to you as well. So you're on the map in kind of a bigger way than perhaps you've been before. So. And the Denver hub is growing. It's something that United has been focusing on and plans to in the future as well. So you're more or less adopted into the United family in that sense, and you can grow with them.
So wanted to talk a little bit about some of the advantage of a United co-chair, which is what we have, and how does that differ from an interline. The first is the simple one, is that on all of the what we call distribution channels, so that could be Expedia, Google Flights, United.com, and some of the ones you may not think of. So American Express does a lot of corporate travel bookings, for example. They're kind of a traditional travel agent. They book a lot of travel, and all these tickets would be available through those channels. And so there's a wide array of channels in which people can buy the tickets, and they can do so as a single ticket itinerary. Another feature that we have a specific slide for is through pricing. So today, all of the pricing in Riverton is going from Riverton to Denver, and then essentially fares are bolted on in Denver. The way it would work under our scenario is you would still have fares from Riverton to Denver, but then there would literally be thousands of fares filed into the market where there would be fares from from Riverton to Los Angeles, Riverton to Orlando, Riverton to New York. And so those are called through prices. The through prices don't care that you're connecting in Denver. They just care where you start and where you end. And so the nature of having those in the market will change the through pricing. The other part is the passenger protection during irregular operations. And essentially, if you're on a single ticket on United, they're basically accountable for you from the beginning to the end. So if there's some kind of disruption that happens somewhere along the way, there's an obligation to get you to your destination. So this is the pricing sample that we picked up. So we fly a very similar type of service into Gillette and Rock Springs that we're proposing for Riverton. And so we wanted to just pick a sample of what we would see. And this really applies quite heavily to leisure traffic. So what I mean by that is generally when you're going to stay somewhere over a weekend, in Gillette, which is in the middle kind of box here, we put Riverton at the top, we put Gillette in the middle, and we put Rock Springs on the bottom. But there is through pricing in Gillette and Rock Springs, and we picked Phoenix, Arizona. We figured there'd be people that would do that from time to time here. And, in the case of Rock Springs, if you go down and fly on June 20th, I think we had the return coming back the following Tuesday or so. It was $310 from Rock Springs to Phoenix with a connection in Denver. It was $385 from Gillette to do the same thing. And today it is $788 from Riverton. And the reason really is because there's not that through pricing in the market. And like I said, with airline pricing, there's a lot of variables in airline pricing, but I think what we wanted to sample is what a through price would do. This isn't to say that it'll always be exactly $310 or it's always $788, but you can even see across the top, if you would go on Friday, it's $728 rather than $788. But I think you get the idea of the concept here. So Dan, I'll let him talk again. He has some reliability stuff that he's going to talk about of some of our flights here in Wyoming.
Sure. And as Greg mentioned earlier, we have these partnerships with these major airlines, and SkyWest reliability is a key part of that. These major airlines aren't going to want to do business with a regional airline that can't operate reliably. And so we just wanted to point out a few things with your neighbors. So we took the last 12 months flights departing Rock Springs, landing in Gillette, and we had 2,066 scheduled flights out of those locations. And of those 2,066 flights, only 4 were canceled due to controllable events. So when we're looking at cancellation, a controllable event might be something like the aircraft needed some maintenance and thereby couldn't operate that day. Things of weather in that nature we don't consider controllable, and those are tracked a little bit differently. But you can really see an airline's operational reliability by how often they're canceling something that is within the airline's control or within their ability to influence. And so we pride ourselves in that reliability, and 4 cancels within a year in those 3 communities is quite low. We do pride ourselves in what we consider industry-leading levels of operational reliability, and our partners acknowledge that as well, and that is part of the reason why we've been able to form these good partnerships with them. Another thing we want to bring to your attention is just, again, the Denver hub. For SkyWest, it's one of our biggest bases of operation, if you will. So we operate around 170 flights each day out of that hub. And as part of that, having that level of operation and that level of commitment to that hub is beneficial to the communities that we serve into Denver. One example we like to point out is keeping spare aircraft in Denver, because it's such a large piece of our operation. We want to have those spare aircraft there, and that benefits the communities we serve to really maintain that operational reliability.
Continue on with this.
Yes. So kind of going along with this theme of looking at these 3 neighboring communities, we wanted to focus in on a long-term partnership. When we start new service in a community, it's not our intention to fly in, stay there while the times are good, and if there's any hiccups, we're out the door. we're here to be here long term, to partner with the community, to work together to be a team. And in Gillette, Rock Springs, and Laramie, we wanted to go back to some relatively recent history. So these are United Airlines historical emplacements for those three communities. And we started in 2010, and from that time forward, we were the primary operator within those communities. And if you just look at where each community was in 2010 and then Laramie State's 2012, and where they are now, really speaks to that partnership and what it means to bring in a carrier that's going to be reliable, that has a strong partnership, that actually cares about the community, is interested in being there. And that has been the SkyWest model for 47 years, is developing those partnerships, and it's no different to what we're proposing to do here in Riverton.
So with that, we'll turn it over to any questions that you have for us that we can answer.
Greg and Dan, I appreciate that presentation. I was on the original FAST board 6-8 years ago, and we were really struggling, and I didn't have any idea they're as big as that. So it's nice to have that opportunity. We appreciate you coming up and giving the presentation. Kyle, do you have a question?
One question. Do you envision coming out of Denver, how are you going to get directly to Riverton? Are we going through Rock Springs, or what is your routing thinking?
No, that's a great.
Or is that premature?
It's probably a little premature. I mean, our preference is to serve communities nonstop. I think that's what we're thinking in this case. But admittedly, some of that is yet to be completely ironed out with some of the process with the state contract.
One last question.
Kyle?
When you, I see the price differences are substantial, but in flying near Lombardy, what's our level of operation? What level are we flying at? What conditions can we fly at? And you've experienced Wyoming weather, but Rock Springs certainly is not Riverton.
Certainly. So I will tell you,
Our weather's better.
Yeah, that's good. I'll remember that. So I can tell you the aircraft themselves, and I think this is generally true of most aircraft, can't go below about -50. And as far as the cold weather itself, the cold weather really is okay on the aircraft. The snow is okay on the aircraft. The number of conditions you get into that create challenges really can have to do with wind, probably more than temperature. And I think you'd probably, I don't know if I could quote you how high the wind could go before, I mean, it would have to go extremely high. But there are instances, I think in the stats Dan gave, if you looked at Gillette and Laramie and Rock Springs as somewhat of a proxy, there were, I think, 40 times over the course of 2,000 flights where the weather was such that the aircraft couldn't operate. But what we did a little research on how that compares to other carriers in Denver, and it's about a 30% improvement versus the Denver average. And so I don't know if that answers your questions, but the aircraft are pretty capable of flying in cold weather.
Thank you.
Sure.
Anyone else? Hey, thanks, guys. We appreciate you coming.
Thank you for having us.
Your Honor, if I may, these gentlemen do have to drive to Casper tonight, and so if it's okay with you, I've said they could leave early and don't have to wait till the end of the meeting.
Well, I don't know. Are the dishes done?
But I wanted them to make sure that you weren't thinking they were being rude by leaving early, but they do need to hit the road. And I do want to thank them. They spent an hour and a half in the Lander community today, and I really appreciate the fact that they've come up, spent time with our community to let us know the valuable service that they could provide Fremont County and help our air service improve.
You can go early if you empty all the trash cans.
We appreciate, by the way, Kyle, loaning Kyle to us for the day. He was a great guide of the community.
You know, and not making light of those things, we have a top flight fast group, and they really do a good job. And we have Kevin's with us, and Kathy's with us, and Ernie's with us, and Kyle, and you saw Misty today in Lander, and Cy was here. Did Cy escape? So if you need help, we got experience, and we would love to give you any assistance that you need. Okay?
We appreciate that, and we appreciate the interest in aviation. It's a huge help to have the community engaged on this topic.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
We're now at 11, ordinance number 19006, third and final reading, prohibited the feeding of certain animals. Would the deputy city clerk please read the ordinance number 19-006 by title only?
Yes, Your Honor. Proposed ordinance 19-006 on third and final reading. An ordinance amending Title VI Animals to revise Chapter 6.04 Animals generally to establish Section 6.04.090 supplemental feeding of certain wild animals and repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict therewith and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion to adopt ordinance number 19-006 on third and final reading.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Mike Bailey, Councilman Bailey, and a second by Councilwoman Shotson. Any discussion? Would the deputy city clerk please conduct a roll call vote?
Yes, Your Honor. Councilwoman Carla Borders.
Yay.
Councilman Tim Hancock.
Yay.
Councilman Mike Bailey.
Aye.
Councilman Rebecca Schatza.
Aye.
Councilman Kyle Larson.
Yes.
Councilman Corey Rhoda.
Aye.
Mayor Richard Gard.
Yes. Motion passes. Public hearing to consider a retail liquor license transfer of ownership from the First Interstate Bank to Jerry Bornhoff. Would the deputy city clerk report, please?
Thank you, Your Honor. Mayor and council, before you for your consideration is a retail liquor license transfer of ownership application submitted by Jerry Bornhoff, doing business as Cedar Bar, for the remainder of the 2019-2020 licensing year. As requested through the application process, the transfer of ownership is from First Interstate Bank, which is currently under non-operational status, to Jerry Bornhoff, doing business as Cedar Bar. If approved, the retail liquor license will remain at the current location, which is 413 East Fremont Avenue, and is scheduled to be operational within a month of acquiring the license. The budget impact from the proposed recommendation is $100 of revenue from the application fee, as well as an undetermined amount of sales tax revenue. The license is in good standing with the City of Riverton. The Wyoming Liquor Division has certified the application is complete, the proper fees have been paid, and proper notice to the public has been advertised. In addition, should you have any questions for the applicant, Mr. Bornhoff is in the audience. Based on the information provided through the application process, staff recommends approval of the retail liquor license transfer of ownership application as presented. Thank you.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion to open a public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Bailey has made the motion and Councilman Rhoda has made the second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion passes. I now declare the public hearing open. The hearing will be conducted in accordance with state statute and other applicable laws. I would ask those individuals wishing to address the council to approach the podium and identify yourself for the record.
Hello,
Hello.
Your Honor, council members, I'm John Snell. and I am here representing Trinity Lutheran Church and School. And in addition to that, just trying to make Jerry's job harder for him. Prior to the closing of the Cedar Bar, our teachers, students, and custodians would almost daily be out in the grounds around our school cleaning up beer bottles, trash, cans, vomit, human feces, and other unknown items. In addition to that, we had a problem with illegal parking on our property. And also, especially in the winter months when our teachers would be going to school early mornings when it was still dark, they would oftentimes find individuals intoxicated, sleeping or passed out, and would scare them to death. Since the Cedar Bar is closed, these problems have almost exclusively gone away. We've torn down the old bar, I can't remember what it was called, that we owned.
Satellite.
There you go, Satellite. We've torn that down, and I do believe that contributed somewhat to the issues that were going on when the Cedar Bar was open. But since that's been down, the other issues just do not occur to us anymore. We've also extended, since we've torn that building down, we've extended our playground almost right out to Fremont. So we provide Christian education to children from preschool through 8th grade, and they're all out in that playground at various times. And the bar is directly across the street. It's my understanding, as I recall anyway, that a new liquor license cannot be established within so many feet of a school. And I believe our school would fit into that parameter. It's also my understanding that the request to provide a liquor license to the Maverick on Main Street, on West Main, was denied because it was close, or at least partially anyway, because it was close to a library and a school. And I think it could be argued as to whether this is a new liquor license or an existing liquor license, being as though the license itself is at least intended to change hands, and it's been closed for probably close to a year. So Trinity Lutheran Church and School is suggesting that this would be a good time to take a stand and prevent another liquor establishment from being placed near a school. So, I thank you for your time.
Thanks, John.
Any questions?
I don't see any. Thank you. Anyone else?
I'm David Kellner, and I am with Home Source, so I do have a vested interest in that, so I want you guys to be aware of that. But as the listing agent, I'm here to speak on behalf of the transfer for our client, First Interstate Bank, the seller of the property at 413 East Fremont. Just to let you know that there is a contract to sell the building that is tied to the transfer of this liquor license as well. So a vote no on the liquor license is also a vote basically leaving another vacant commercial building in Riverton. Couple things to mention. Obviously, it is a transfer of an existing liquor license, not a new liquor license. The issues that were with the previous ownership, obviously this is going to be different management, and there are still 2 or 3 other bars within that same vicinity that have been operating. So if the problems have been eliminated recently, there are still bars in that area operating without problem. So our the same and try to prevent any problems for the adjacent schools. Yeah, I think that's really the points that I wanted to cover on behalf of First Interstate anyways, is to let you know that obviously we are trying to get more commercial businesses in town. That's been one of the primary goals, and seeing vacant buildings obviously doesn't help Riverton's image either.
Thanks, Dave. There being no other speakers, the chair would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilwoman Borders and a second by Councilmember Mike Bailey. Any further discussion?
Yes,
Councilman Bailey?
the question that was brought up, and I guess it would be for the clerk. So the state has approved this and considers it just a transfer, not a new license?
Yes, Your Honor, that's correct.
Okay.
Anyone else? Tony, is there any qualification for location footage to a school?
Your Honor, this is one of those times I do wish Kristen was here. I don't remember any. At this point, I can look at it real quick. I don't think there is.
I think it's well to note that Ralph's Bar is within the same footage of the school. So is Corner Pocket, located in very close proximity. The Eagles is no longer serving, am I correct about that?
Your Honor, that's correct.
So,
Your Honor,
yes,
as long as it's commercial zoned, I don't think there is a stipulation.
okay. And so from the original township of Riverton, that would be in commercial zoning, correct? Eric, can you hit the map real quick and tell us yes or no? I'm pretty sure it is.
Commercial. It is commercial.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Your Honor,
Kyle?
wouldn't that be grandfathered in?
Well, I think that's what the state's saying, is it's a transfer instead of a new license application. So grandfather would be another word for that, but it would be in possession of that premises and that business ownership.
Well, what I'm really saying is it's not a new structure. It's, I don't know how many we've done of these, Mike, several, haven't we? And, you know, I understand, I hear what he's saying, but we're not in charge of who wins or loses, just to write the laws. Thank you.
Councilman Hancock.
You know, and one of the things we've been discussing is our ordinance used to be very, very broad in being able to have any sort of restriction or anything on a liquor license if there's been any wrongdoing by somebody who holds one, and we've been trying to tighten that up. We have an ordinance right now that we've been considering. But I think we just did the second reading today. So, I mean, we're well aware of the fact that somebody who holds a liquor license might not always be making the best choices. And I think we're wanting to do something about that. If we hear about issues that you have in the future, we would definitely welcome it, no matter how things go today, because we are interested in making sure if there is wrongdoing, and it's something that the liquor license holder can do something about, because some of it there isn't, of course. It may be something that we might be able to act on, but I think we'd like to know.
Thank you.
Your Honor,
Yes, please.
Can we close the public hearing?
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
It's a good thing you're here. I thought we were in discussion, so we're going to vote?
Vote to close.
I would move that we close the public hearing.
Second.
Okay, I already have those motions under Carla and Mike made those motions, and we were just in discussion. So if we're done discussing,
We're closing the public hearing.
we're just going to close the public hearing here.
Yes, Your Honor.
Discuss.
Right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion passes. I now declare the public hearing closed. The chair would entertain a motion to approve the liquor license transfer of the ownership to Jerry Bornhoff doing business as the Cedar Bar.
Your Honor, I would make that motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion from Councilman Bailey and a second by Rebecca Schatza. Further discussion. Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Public hearing to consider the ordinance number 19-008, first reading, engine brake discussion. City Administrator's report.
Thank you, Your Honor. We have received a request to consider prohibition of compression brakes within the city of Riverton. Compression brakes are generally called Jake brakes or Jacob brakes, but due to, I guess, some past lawsuits over the last decade or so, we have to call them compression brakes. Compression brakes is an engine braking mechanism installed on some diesel engines. When activated, it opens exhaust valves in the cylinders after the compression stroke, releasing the compressed gas trapped in the cylinders. Essentially, we've all heard them, and I think probably Mike Bailey could tell you more about them than I could. However, the challenge with them sometimes comes in the fact that they are relatively loud. So as we were asked to look into this, what we found was that, one, we have nothing that we can find in ordinance that prohibits these items. Because the language associated with their prohibition and this discussion is so short, we put it in ordinance form for you to consider exactly what it is. We based the language here off of other language from throughout the state. As such, we are recommending that council consider and approve ordinance 19-008 on first reading is presented. Council may also make modifications or direct staff to provide additional information if they so see fit. We would happily answer any questions that you have.
Would the Deputy City Clerk please read ordinance number 19-008 by title only, please?
Yes, Your Honor. Proposed ordinance number 19-008 on first reading. An ordinance amending Title 12, Streets, Sidewalks, and Public Places to revise Chapter 12.12, Street and Sidewalk Use Regulations to establish Section 12.12.080, Engine Compression Brakes Prohibited, and repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict therewith and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion to open public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Hancock and a second by Councilman Rhoda. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. Motion passes. I now declare the public hearing open. The hearing will be conducted in accordance with state statute and other applicable laws. I would ask those individuals wishing to address the council to approach the podium and identify yourself for the record.
Peter Arturian, physicist. We don't need any more laws that condemn commercial drivers. I say don't do it.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience wishing to speak? There being no other speakers, the chair would move The chair would entertain a motion to close public hearing.
Motion to close public hearing.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Larson and a second by Councilwoman Schatze. Any discussion?
Your Honor,
Yes.
I know this is a stupid question, but engine compression brakes prohibited is hereby established. How do we enforce that?
Just point of order, this is where we went last time on discussion. We're closing the hearing, and then we'll have discussion further in the next spot. So
Okay.
all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. The chair would entertain a motion to adopt ordinance number 19-008 on first reading.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Larson and a second by Councilwoman Schatze. Any discussion? Now, Kyle.
For that to be enforced, we have to have police officers in locations where that would be, normally trucks use that, coming down grades, entering cities. And so I don't know that do you hear a lot of that noise, Mike, in your office when you're on Federal?
Your Honor?
Yes.
No, I mean, I think part of it is when you're by the highway, you get used to the noise, and so you quit paying attention. But I would also add that you're either going to hear Jake brake noise or you're going to hear screeching brake noise, one of the two. And unless we're going to ban braking, and that probably is not a really good idea. And so, I think this is actually a more efficient way to slow a truck down than using the brakes, unless you have to severely slow down quickly. It saves on brakes, it saves on wear and tear on the trucks. It is, there is a noise to it, but I don't think it's any worse than, a lot of the other noises on the highway. Don't try to stand by the highway and talk on your cell phone, because the traffic noise alone, you can't hear anything. So, again, I would have to agree with the gentleman from the audience and say that we got plenty of laws that we don't enforce fully now. I don't think we need to be adding any more to them. The highway was there long before most of the houses that are, and I don't know who's asking for this, but I think when you're in a commercial district along a highway, you just got to expect a certain amount of noise from traffic and that kind of stuff.
May I ask one more question?
Sure, why not?
What benefit is this? Cost benefit, what do we derive from this? We've got from the night show house clear out to the prison farm. It's all level. And I don't see that we're making life better, community safer. I just, I don't see why now?
In clarification, why now is I had a citizen ask me to look into that and see if we couldn't do that because they couldn't hear their phones in their offices on Federal. And so, didn't dream of this myself.
No.
So we do have citizens that are asking for that, and that's who we work for. Last I checked. Chief, could you give us any idea of how hard this ordinance would be and how often we'd even attempt to? I think this is more of a courtesy thing that happens that you post outside of cities. You see them all the time, and it reminds truck drivers that there's other activities happening besides hauling freight through a city. We do all sorts of other things to try to beautify and make Riverton a pleasant place to be. Engine brake is kind of a loud operation. I really don't think where they're at, that it's engine brakes as much as it's just normal deceleration when they get off the accelerators to go down that hill by Athon's offices. So I don't know, I'm not naive enough to think that this is going to be the answer, but I was hoping to put forth what a citizen asked to have taken care of, along with the fact that it would be a little bit more pliable and pleasing if you didn't hear engine brakes. Tony, did you have anything to add?
To the, Your Honor, to the questions that have generally been asked, I've had the opportunity to work on more than one ordinance dealing with compression brakes. And generally speaking, the reason that they are, you asked why, that these are usually put forward. And as the mayor kind of talked about, it becomes a quality of life issue if noise in a particular area or use of them becomes significant to the point where people can't sleep or can't do business in a business because the consistency is so much. So generally that has been one of the driving forces, and these came up a lot over about 10 years ago. They really started, this conversation really kicked off, and a lot of communities consider it, which is why we have the language already developed. So and then it kind of died out, no pun intended, but now, generally speaking, the reason why they're considered is simply a quality of life issue. It's not necessarily, as I understand it, a safety concern, because you can light up a set of brakes in town and the speed limit is such. It's more if you can't hear to do business or the like. That's generally why it's been done. As far as enforcement of it, to your original question, as the mayor pointed out, generally you post at the edges of town, sometimes in an area within town, depending on if an area is more used for compression brakes, you might post it. But other than that, then it becomes a matter of, okay, if it's consistent, like any challenge, whether it be speeding or anything else, well, then the police department is alerted and say, hey, we have a lot of this going on. And they go to the area, they recognize it, they enforce the law, and then usually it, just like speeding, it tapers off because people understand that, okay, well, we shouldn't be doing this here. I hope that answers your question a little bit.
Chief, I addressed you and didn't give you a chance to speak. Would you?
Your Honor, so I can tell you that probably 2 or 3 times a week I do hear it from my office, obviously, which is right here in this building. And so how do we enforce it? Kind of like the city administrator said, I can't tell you what it sounds like mechanically, but I know it when I hear it, kind of a thing. And so typically what we do is exactly what the city administrator said. If we have a complaint in that area of town, we would post an officer there, and if they hear that noise that we all know is a compression brake, then they would enforce that law however they saw fit.
Thank you.
So, Your Honor,
Kyle?
So the concern is off of High School Hill then?
No, the concern is off of Federal, right where you come off of the higher grade of Federal and just drop by Hasco and those 2 offices
Okay.
that used to be Major's offices.
You're using a Jake brake there?
Well,
I mean, that's what they're complaining.
either that or they're just backing off the accelerator and they're getting some exhaust noise.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
we also have people in the discussion that have complained about Hill Street as the trucks come off of Hill Street and into town from Riverview. So it's not that they don't occur. They have those brakes for a reason. They use them. My last Ford truck had a Jake brake on it, and it's just a 350, and all you had to do is press that, and it'll take care of that engine problem. So it's just a concerned citizen asked, and I told them that I would put it to the council to see if you were interested in seeing if they were able to do something about it. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. All opposed?
Nay.
I am for it, so it's 1 against 6. I find myself there quite often.
You do.
Airport ground lease, Wind River Agriculture, Public Works Director's report.
Thank you, Your Honor. We have a few leases coming before you this evening that relate to the airfield. This first one is for Wind River Ag. It's an aerial application company, so a crop dusting company. Alan Lebsack has operated this company for several years. He told me he's been on the airfield for about 20 years now. His current lease has expired, and this opportunity is just to give him a new lease to continue his operations at the airfield. The lease is structured very similarly to his previous lease. In fact, it's almost word for word. The only thing we updated was the consideration of fees. We right-sized it to the step increases that have occurred every year according to the CPI adjustment. He wants to use the exact same space. This lease is a one-year base lease with 4 optional renewal periods. Therefore, staff recommends that the City Council approve this lease with Wind River Ag. And I do want to point out on my staff report, I do apologize on the recommendation. I have the wrong name listed there. So in your motion, it does need to be Wind River Ag. But we do recommend that we approve this lease and allow Alan Lebsack to continue his operations from the airfield.
The chair would entertain a motion to approve the lease agreement with Wind River Ag.
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Councilman Bailey and a second by Councilman Hancock. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion, all opposed, say nay. Motion passes. The transfer of carriage corral lease, Public Works Director's report, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. These 2 leases pertain to the fixed base operator business at the airfield. I'm sad to report that Jim Steinhoff and his family are retiring and moving on to better pastures. We do have Jim in the audience, and we want to thank him because he's provided service at Riverton Regional for a long time. He's at least served as the FBO since 2002, but I know he was a mechanic for many years before that. So we have a lot of experience that's leaving Riverton Regional, and we're sad to see him go, but we're happy for his new adventure as he retires and moves on to other things. I don't think he's really retiring, though. I don't think Jim can sit still. So with Jim selling his business, what we need to do is ensure that the person purchasing his business, that FBO, has a place to operate from. 2 of these leases need to be transferred. The next we will consider it as a new lease, and that'll be the next action. The lease before you is for ground space that cover the maintenance hangar that Jim's currently occupies, and then the FBO terminal. In both of those leases, there is a provision to assign or transfer the right of the lease. However, the City Council needs to provide written authorization for that. So your motion today would provide that authorization in minute form. City staff has reviewed the lease terms, and we think that this is the best thing to do. Just transfer the lease that is currently operating, allow the new purchaser to continue, and we won't have a gap in service for a fixed base operator at the airfield. And just as a point of clarification, the FBO does a lot of essential services at the airfield. First and foremost, they provide fuel operations for both commercial and general aviation. Jim has a very strong business for maintenance, but they also provide many other services, moving aircraft, parking aircraft, helping people with tie downs, etc. So this is a critical business at the airfield, and we want to make sure that we have a lease in place and a smooth transition. The only thing that does stand out is that we do need to have in your motion an exception to our minimum standards at Riverton Regional. In 2011, the airport established minimum operating standards for anybody who leases or does business on the airfield. When it pertains to fixed base operators, it does require 2 things. First, they must provide fuel to those commercial and general aviation aircraft that operate. And second, it does have a requirement that they provide aircraft maintenance services. The new purchaser of the FBO will not be able to provide those maintenance services as spelled out in our minimum standards. I spent some time with the purchaser, and it's Classic Aviation. In your staff report, it's listed as Blue Sky Aviation Investments. That is a sister company to Classic Aviation right now, who actually performs a lot of the life flight on the airfield, so they're used to us. But they're purchasing the business, and they will not be able to provide the maintenance as Jim's has. After meeting with them, I feel very comfortable recommending to the council that we waive this requirement because, in my eyes, the service of providing fuel is more important than the service of aircraft maintenance. What we will lose is some of the people who fly in and get their aircraft and their annuals serviced specifically by Jim's. They will have to go elsewhere for that. But we will have someone who can provide the fuel service that is necessary out of the FBO. With that said, staff's recommendation to council is you transfer these leases or allow for the assignment of these leases from the Carriage Corral to Blue Sky Aviation Investments, LLC. And I just actually have a text from Tony Henderson, who is the CEO of Blue Sky and Classic, and he has made a recommendation that he would prefer to have the lease actually in Classic's name. We had first spoken about it being under this name, but he would prefer it to be under Classic. So if that's something we could put in the motion that is, again, different than what's in your packet. That's Classic Aviation, LLC. With that, we do have a representative of Classic in the audience, and I'm sure they would be willing to stand for any questions at this time. We're excited to welcome them as a fixed-base operator, just as we are sad to see Jim go, but we look forward to hopefully many years of good customer service and service at Riverton Regional. And with that, I'll stand for any questions.
The chair would entertain a motion to approve the transfer of the lease agreement between the City of Riverton and Carriage Corral, Inc. to Classic Aviation Investment, LLC.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilwoman Borders and a second by Councilman Mike Bailey. Any further discussion?
Your Honor, I guess I would move that we follow up with an amendment to that, I suppose, where we would exempt them from the minimum standard requirement of providing the aircraft maintenance as Mr. Butterfield requested.
Isn't that in your amendment?
Your Honor, Councilman, that is part of our recommendation, and I agree we probably need that specified in the motion.
Okay. So we want to make an amendment. Tim, you want to state that?
Yes, that we would amend the motion that it would not just be for the transfer of the rights and that in the two lease in between the City of Riverton, Carriage, Carroll, and Classic, but that we would also exempt Classic from the minimum standard requirement of providing aircraft maintenance.
Do we have a second?
Second.
So we have a motion by Councilman Hancock and a second by Councilwoman Schatze. On the amendment, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Back to the original motion. Can we still use this? Mike Bailey has Councilman Bailey has the motion, and a second by. Carla Borders has the motion and Mike Bailey has the second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Approval of fuel farm lease agreement. Public Works Director's report, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. So this would be the third lease that we need to have in place for Classic Aviation to operate as an FBO. We wanted to do a new lease on this one because the previous lease needed to have some language updated to ensure that we complied with our FAA grant assurances. And so what we did as staff is we cleaned up that language. We ran it through our attorney. I also checked with the FAA, and they were fine with the new language that we proposed. And really, it was a minimal change. The previous lease granted an exclusive right to the fuel farm. While we definitely want to promote the business of the FBO, our grant assurances specifically state that we cannot give exclusive rights to businesses on the airfield. We have to provide an even playing field for anyone who wants to do business. And so that was one thing we removed just to ensure that we were compliant with our grant assurances. So this lease, again, will not be with Blue Sky Aviation Investment, but again, it will be with Classic Aviation LLC. And it is for the existing tanks on the airfield. The city owns them. Jim Steinhoff currently leases them, and we'd like to have that lease expire and have a new lease between Classic so that they can store fuel and then service aircraft with that fuel. And with that, I'll stand for any questions.
The chair would entertain a motion to approve the lease agreement for fuel farm at the Riverton Regional Airport with Classic Aviation Investment LLC.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Larson and a second by Councilman Rhoda. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion passes. We are now at item 17, council committee reports and council members roundtable. Mike, would you start us?
Sure. Well, I was extremely pleased, not to take any of Rebecca's thunder, but I was at the Splash Pad grand opening event, and it was very well attended. We had lots of kids playing in the water, and they had a nice, Chamber of Commerce put on a concert, and there was food vendors there, and as far as I know, they all sold out of the product. There was lots of people having a good time. Unfortunately, the wind did come up, and it got a little cloudy, so it cooled off, and so all the wet kids went home. But the band played until about 9 o'clock, and it was very, pretty well attended, and a lot of people hung it out right till the end, and it was a great event. So it was nice to see, in addition to City Park, and after driving by there many times since then, there's been kids out playing, and it's nice to see great, good activities going on in City Park. So. And that's all I have.
Thanks, Mike. Rebecca?
Yes, Your Honor. We held our first Community Engagement Committee meeting on Monday, yesterday. Seems like it was longer than that, but I just want to say that committee's pretty awesome. They've got 8 on the committee, actually, that all have great ideas of things that they can do for the community to get the community involved. One of the members on that committee actually is doing pianos within the community. So next Wednesday evening at 7 p.m. at the SCWC, correct? Was it CWC? Oh, no.
Library.
At the library, sorry. At the library, they're going to be showcasing those pianos that are going to be delivered out into the community. There'll be 3 locations here in Riverton and then 3 locations in Lander. In Riverton, there'll be one outside of Kusel's, City Park, and where was that?
I think it's between, is it the depot and
Could be.
Marine Specialty Marines? I believe it's going to be right there, but I can't remember the third one either.
Anyhow, so next Wednesday, 7 p.m. at the library, check it out. Cameron Faring's been putting a lot of hard work into that, just bringing something else to the community for people to enjoy. So if you can play the piano, go do that. They're on Main Street or City Park or wherever the third location is that we can't think of. The next thing that the Community Engagement Committee is going to be involved in is what Kathy Klein spoke of for the Google Earth visit. We really want to get Riverton on the map, make a statement there, as well as our Summer Rendezvous Games, which is scheduled for August 17th. So I hope to see everybody there for that as well. Just want to say again how amazing that Splash Pad event was. And then also just thank the community for their patience with us while we are trying to work out the kinks with the Splash Pad. We've been closed periodically on and off since Friday evening. But everyone that I've talked to has been completely understanding, and I really appreciate that. And thanks for bearing with us while we're working out those kinks. The chamber did a great job that night with the bouncy houses and And the Live at 5 concert and the beer garden, it was a complete success, and I want to mention that as well. I know there were some people that were not excited about that, but I could say there was no issues whatsoever that I was aware of, and Chief's given the thumbs up, so that was a really great event. And yes, the food vendors sold out of everything, which was great, because I talked to them afterwards, and they said they all brought enough food, plus twice as much as I thought they were going to serve, and they sold it all, so that's great. I think the hot dog, I said 150 hot dogs, and he sold out by 7 o'clock when the band started, so that's great. Our kick and trash, we're going tomorrow at 4 p.m. And then I think Corey's going to talk a little more on that. So, but we're doing we're just starting every Wednesday at 4 p.m. So check out our Facebook page, Kick and Trash in Riverton. We're cleaning up the community. If you have places that you want us to clean up or any ideas that you have, even if it's not picking up trash, I'd be willing to go clean up areas that are overwhelmed in weeds as well. So I got my rake ready to go, and I've heard some other people that would be willing to do the same. So let us know. But other than that, that's all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you. Kyle?
We had our monthly meeting at Riverton Rec, and it was a short meeting. We're looking at the bylaws and trying to get things a little more understandable so that if you apply for beautification funds or if you apply for other funds, that you know the ground rules. That's all we had. Second thing I wanted to mention was the people around the park really, really appreciated it. I mean, having a community fun place is really, I think, encouraging. The other thing that I heard was that we need to be a little more careful with our splash pad. It's not blocking and tackling, it's a splash pad. So the older youth need to understand that. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, a couple things. First one, I wanted to do another plug for the Community Improvement Association. They're still collecting donations, so if anybody has clothes, shoes, sport clothes for kids, blankets, anything of that nature, you can contact Alma Law, and he's still collecting that stuff. I did want to mention we had our first Community Engagement Committee meeting. A lot of good ideas. Just get ready for the future. I'm sure there's going to be some big things coming from there. The Kick and Trash, we're also going to start hosting one on Sundays at 11 o'clock. This Sunday, we're going to go from Park Street to Sunset on Major, so from the library to the middle school, and we'll do that on Sunday at 11. And I've got bags, but please bring your own gloves, of course. And I think that is all that I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Waters.
Not a lot to report. I just want to plug that splash pad. That was an amazing event, and it's so nice to see that park full of kids and families, and I'm just so happy that this has all happened. It's great. Solutions Committee met. We're continuing the discussion on trying to figure out a solution for rehabilitation. We've got a long ways to go, but it is something we're talking about. What else is there? I think that's about it for me. Oh, except for the Riverton Local Food Hub. That's still, we're kind of waiting for the airport board to meet again, and we'll find out more about that, I think on the 21st or something like that. So that's still going.
Tim?
The only other thing with Solutions was I think we were saying, at least for the summer, we're going to be meeting once a month rather than twice a month, which I think would be a good change. But that was, I really enjoyed the splash pad grand opening. That's the most people I've ever seen at that park. I mean, even day at the park, we get a lot of people there, but I still think we had more there. I really do. And, you know, there were some people that were complaining about the size of the splash pad, but once they started the water, there wasn't a single kid that complained about the size of the splash pad, and those were the only ones that really mattered. So. But it was really good, well-attended event, lots of fun. My kids really enjoyed it. They were one of the ones that got cold and left early, but I'll tell you, I would love, as many events as we can have with bounce houses and food vendors in the park. I could be there every weekend with bounce houses and food vendors in the park. I think it'd be a lot of fun, so that's it.
Sure. I forgot to mention, a couple weeks ago, after, I think Corey suggested it, but up at the middle school, they had the Community Improvement Association that the middle schoolers were doing, and they made presentations on the different things that they see as needs in the community and the projects that they were working on. And we all must be on the right path, because several of the items that we're working on, they also seen as issues in the community. And so they were doing a lot of just really neat stuff, and I didn't get to stay for more. I was there for about an hour, and just a lot of neat ideas, and it's really impressive to see these young kids getting involved and putting themselves into the community and addressing the needs of the things that they see that we need improving on. And so it was really interesting meeting some of the future leaders of the community.
Thanks, Mike. City Administrator's report.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, just one more thing. I wanted to say a huge thank you to everybody that came out to the sod laying party. I know it was a 2-day plan, and they knocked it out in 2 hours. Also wanted to do a little plug for Domino's, because they were kind enough to bring lunch down to everybody that helped out with that. So I just wanted to go ahead and mention that real quick. Thank you.
There's video online that's pretty cool that shows the...
Yeah.
Rude Dog Productions, I believe. You can see the whole time lapse of it. It's a very neat little video. Sorry.
Tony, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Council, the mayor and I will be attending WHAM next week, the 12th through the 14th. If there's any items that council needs information on, or any information, particular legislation or the like, that need information conveyed or brought home, please let either the mayor or I know. We'll do our best to get that. Those events tend to be very useful for those for that activity, and we have a lot of conversations while we're there. As denoted, the Community Engagement Committee did meet. The group also decided they'll meet the first and third Mondays of the month for right now, but additional meetings may be required, just depending on the event and the timing. So that is a regular schedule, and it was set by the group. I would denote to council that we are currently planning a special meeting on the 25th of this month for end of the year budget amendments. For those who were here this time last year, we did a little farther out, and then Mia had to worry about for the next 2 weeks if we're going to hit the mark. So it helps us to push it a little closer to the end of the year, to that July 1 date. And as such, if we do it on the 25th, we're planning for a 5:30 meeting with one item on the agenda, if that is okay with everybody. So that's what's going to be coming forward to you, and we'll let everybody know about that even more as we come along. Forest Committee is meeting June 10th, so this coming Monday at 10 a.m. at City Hall in the regularly scheduled time and place, if anybody wants to attend. And RECDA is forthcoming on the 26th of this month at the Sundowner. Your Honor, I don't have any other significant items of note right now.
Thank you. In my notes, did everybody else get recognized? In my notes, I was able to attend that 7th grade class presentations, and they were really well done. I appreciated their efforts. There was a lot of thought put into those activities, and a lot of kids involved, and so I think we do have some future leaders there. I also would like to mention the budget meeting that we had with council, and I appreciated those that made it, and we made some tough decisions there, and I appreciated their efforts to join us. I did finally get on team for kicking trash and had a lot of fun. We went from City Hall down to Main Street, and we found a juggernaut of garbage that was off the side of the road at the MI project that has 7 trailers parked there. And so I went and talked to the manager of MI Swatco, and he said that they would be glad to move those trailers off that and post that property for us as soon as the weather dried up. So looking forward to that. We had our last shoplifting meeting, which was attended on this last week or so, and we started in on opioids. There's not as much interest, so we decided that we would hold those off through the summer and see if those weren't intended to be a monthly meeting, and those are intended when the community has a need. If they want to talk to Monty Richardson in Lander, the mayor of Lander, or myself, we'll put one of those meetings together, but we're not just going to hold meetings to have a meeting. I also attended FTAG, the Fremont County Government Board up in Du Bois, and Tim Salzar came and spoke to us, and Tim gave us some real good information on the budget of the state of Wyoming. And there's some really interesting things there, and maybe we could get Tim to come in and talk to us and help us understand that. I also attended the Solutions Committee. Good information there, good active discussion. I appreciate the police chief and his efforts in solutions, and he does a really good job with that. I would like to throw out some thanks to Eric Carr and Kyle Butterfield and Tony, and I think Tim Hugas. I saw Tim there. Who else am I missing laying sod? How many square feet of sod did we lay, Kyle?
I should know this, but I don't.
How many, there was about 4 pallets left. How many pallets did you start with?
Your Honor, I should know this, but I don't.
I think I saw somewhere that was 15 pallets.
There's a lot of grass, and it was done in 2.5 hours. Yeah. And some of us didn't know when the pizza was showing up because we left early, or we got pizza. So it was nice of Domino's to feed that group, and we had lots and lots of ladies with their kids, and we had lots of other city workers that the parks crew just went out of their way to be helpful, and pretty impressive how quickly that went down and took shape.
Your Honor, if I may, Dale Barrett deserved a lot of credit on that. He took and spearheaded the whole sod project, and so I just want to publicly say that he did a great job and took that and brought it home. So Dale Barrett did a great job.
He actually let me use a knife, so it was real appreciated. I hope I didn't miss anybody, but it was really fun to get down there and see all those city workers that came out to lay sod. And it was amazing that much sod got laid in 2.5 hours. We ranged from little kids that could hardly carry a thing of sod to the LDS missionaries were there, and they were carrying 2 rolls of sod at a time and delivering them, and all sorts of moms. And eventually we lost the kids and got more sod laid. But we had a lot of fun. So I would like to tell those people that participated, thanks a lot. I also attended the Planning Commission, and we talked about shipping containers. Of course, talking about writing ordinances too tight, we've caught our own school in an ordinance that they will have to remove their containers. The Planning Commission gave them 180 days to make plans on where to take those shipping containers, or portable bombs, as I call them, out of the community. So that's a problem. Then we also had a discussion on sidewalks up on Sunset. I appreciate the Planning Commission. That is a difficult thing to be on. And David Kellner's in the audience. He sat through the whole meeting, and I appreciate his efforts. We are so fortunate to have our FAST group. I don't think people realize how dedicated those, what are there, 6, 7 people on FAST, and they meet every Friday, 6, and boy, they do good work. And if we didn't have FAST, we wouldn't have that presentation tonight, I don't think. And I was amazed at how many hubs SkyWest is flying. That map was impressive, wasn't it? And of course, you know, you can't, the splash pad, what a wonderful activity for everybody's efforts that put in on the splash pad. I was there from 4:30. Councilwoman Schatz beat me there. I showed up at 9 to try to clean up and help, and everything was well taken care of, and the park looked good the next day, and we had lots and lots of help. The police department with their horses, the police department on bikes. I went Saturday past the splash pad, and I was out doing some errands, and there sat a police car on the pad, pointed right at the splash pad. So I parked and walked over, and it was Tyler Larson. And I said, what are you doing? And he said, well, the chief said that if we didn't have anything to do, we were supposed to be watching the splash pad. And so there he was, and one of the buckets was hanging off one chain. And he said that bucket fell down, and the kids are being kind of rough with the poles, which maybe we could help address a little gentler on the equipment, but they'll have fun and enjoy that. But I went over to look, and just the clasp was unhooked, and nothing was broken. And so I motioned to Tyler. I said, come on over, and I'll lift you up, and you can put that clasp back on. And he looked at me and said, I weigh 150 pounds or 250 pounds with all this gear on. You're not going to lift me. I said, okay. He said, I'll go find a ladder or a stool or something. So he went off towards the maintenance building, and I looked around. There were 10 or 12 young people there, and I explained how to hook that clasp to one of them, lifted him up in the air, and he hooked it back on for me. So it really is fun to see a community come together and pick up projects and change things. I saw a sunbather today in City Park. It's been years since anybody wanted to go in City Park and sunbathe. And so I do have a letter from a lady that I would pass around if anybody would like to read that. It's not a letter, it's just a comment. We did radio, and radio was enjoyable with Ernie. And our engagement committee is going to get a lot of stuff done. And so it's nice to have that committee. Talk to those people, tell them what you want done. We're working for the citizens of Riverton, and that's what we're trying to do here, is do the work of the people. So I appreciate all your efforts. I understand there's no executive tonight?
No, Your Honor.
The chair would entertain a motion to adjourn the regular council meeting.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Hancock and a second by Councilman Rhoda. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes, and the meeting of the Riverton City Council stands adjourned at 8:42.